We're back with Coraline. We've read which one have we read? Chapter 1. Coraline's moved into a house. We've met Miss Forcible and Miss Spink, are very interesting old actresses. And we've met the strange man upstairs. Seems a bit of a strange person, but Coraline's speaking to them all. She's been for an explore around the garden. She's explored the house and she's found this door that's bricked up on the inside. Hasn't she? And then she woke up in the middle of the night and saw something. She thinks it was something. Not so sure. And then she went off into her dreams, and that's where we start with chapter 2. So, the next day it had stopped raining, but a thick white fog had lowered over the house. "We're going for a walk," said Coraline. "Don't go too far," said her mother, "and dress up warmly." Coraline put on her blue coat with a hood and her red scarf and her yellow Wellington boots. She went out. Miss Spink was walking with her dogs. "Hello, Caroline," said Miss Spink. "Rotten weather." "Yes," said Coraline. "I played Portia once," said Miss Spink. "Miss Forcible talks about her Ophelia, but it was my Portia they came to see when we trod the boards." When you tread the boards, it's where you, when you're doing theatre. It's a phrase you say. And Ophelia and Portia are both Shakespearean characters. Miss Spink was bundled up in pullovers and cardigans, so she seemed more small and circular than ever. She looked like a large fluffy egg. She wore thick glasses that made her eyes seem huge. "They used to send flowers to my dressing room." "They did," she said. "Who did?" asked Coraline. Miss Spink looked around cautiously, looking first over one shoulder and then over the next, peering into the mist as if someone were listening. "Men," she whispered. Then she tugged the dogs to heel and waddled back off towards the house. Coraline continued her walk. She was 3/4 of the way around the house when she saw Miss Forcible standing at the door to the flat. She shared with Miss Spink. "Have you seen Miss Spink, Caroline?" Coraline told her that she had, and that Miss Spink was out walking the dogs. "I do hope she doesn't get lost. It'll bring on her shingles if she does. You'll see," said Miss Forcible. "You'd have to be an explorer to find your way in this fog." "I'm an explorer," said Coraline. "Course you are, lovey," said Miss Forcible. "Don't get lost now." Coraline continued walking through the garden in the grey mist. She always kept in sight of the house. After about 10 minutes of walking, she found herself back where she had started. The hair over her eyes was limp and wet, and her face felt damp. "Ahoy, Caroline!" called the crazy old man upstairs. I love doing the voices. "Oh, hello," said Coraline. She could hardly see the old man through the mist. He walked down the steps on the outside of the house that led up past Coraline's front door to the flat. I should read that again. She could hardly see the old man through the mist. He walked down the steps on the outside of the house that led up past Coraline's front door to the door of his flat. He walked down very slowly. Coraline waited at the bottom of the steps. "The mice do not like the mist," he told her. "Makes their whiskers droop." "I don't like the mist much either," admitted Coraline. The man leaned down so close to the bottom of his moustache, it tickled so close at the bottom of his moustache, tickled Coraline's ear. "The mice have a message for you," he whispered. Coraline didn't know what to say. "The message is, don't go through the door." He paused. "Does that mean anything to you?" No, said Coraline. The old man shrugged. They are funny, the mice. They get things wrong. They got your name wrong, you know. They kept saying, Coraline, not Caroline. Not Caroline at all. He picked up a milk bottle from the bottom step and started back up to his attic flat. Coraline went indoors. Her mother was working in the study. Her mother's study smelt of flowers. What shall I do? Asked Coraline. When do you go back to school? Asked her mother. Next week, said Coraline. Said her mother. I suppose I shall have to get you new clothes. Remind me, dear, or else I'll forget. And she went back to typing things on the computer screen. What shall I do? Repeated Coraline. Draw something. Her mother passed her a sheet of paper and a ballpoint pen. Coraline tried drawing the mist. After 10 minutes of drawing, she still had a white sheet of paper with M, an I in the bottom, and ST. Like this, as you can see. That's all she'd drawn. Written on it in one corner, in slightly wiggly letters. She grunted and passed it to her mother. Very modern, dear, said Coraline's mother. Coraline crept into the drawing room and tried to open the old door in the corner. It was locked once more. She supposed her mother must have locked it again. She shrugged. Coraline went to see her father. He had his back to the door as he typed. Go away, he said cheerfully as she walked in. I'm bored, she said. Learn how to tap dance, he suggested without turning round. Coraline shook her head. Why don't you play with me? She asked. Busy, he said. Working, he added. He still hadn't turned around to look at her. Why didn't you go and bother Miss Spink and Miss Forcible? Coraline put on her coat and pulled up her hood and went out of the house. She went down the steps. She rang the door of Miss Spink and Miss Forcible's flat. Coraline could hear a frenzied wooffing as the Scotty dogs ran out into the hall. After a while, Miss Spink opened the door. Oh, it's you, Caroline, she said. Angus, Hamish, Bruce, down now, lovies. It's only Caroline. Come in, dear. Would you like a cup of tea? The flat smelt of furniture, polish and dogs. Yes, please, said Coraline. Miss Spink led her into a dusty little room, which she called the parlour. On the walls were black and white photographs of pretty women in theatre programmes in frames. Miss Forcible was sitting in one of the armchairs, knitting hard. Miss Spink poured Coraline a cup of tea in a little pink bone china cup with a saucer, and gave her a dry Garibaldi biscuit to go with it. Miss Forcible looked at Miss Spink, picked up her knitting and took a deep breath. Anyway, April, as I was saying, you still have to admit there's life in the old dog yet, she said. Miriam, dear, neither of us is as young as we were. Madame Arcati, replied Miss Forcible, the nurse and Romeo, Lady Bracknell. Character parts. They can't retire you from the stage. Now, Miriam, we agreed, said Spink. Coraline wondered if they'd forgotten she was there. They weren't making much sense. She decided they were having an argument, as old and comfortable as an armchair, the kind of argument that no one ever really wins or loses, but which can't go on forever if both parties, which can go on forever if both parties are willing. She sipped her tea. I'll read the leaves if you want, said Miss Spink to Coraline. So they're fighting. The women are fighting. They're saying, I should go. One of them saying, I could go back to work as an actress. There's loads of parts for older women. And the other one's saying no. And Coraline thinks this is just an ongoing thing. I'll read the leaves if you want, said Miss Spink to Coraline. Sorry, said Coraline. The tea leaves, dear. I'll read your furniture. That wasn't the word. I'll read your future. Coraline passed Miss Spink her cup. Miss Spink peered short-sightedly at the black tea leaves in the bottom. She pursed her lips. You know, Caroline, she said after a while, you are in terrible danger. Miss Forcible snorted and put down her knitting. Don't be silly, April. Stop scaring the girl. Her eyes are going. Pass me that cup, child. Coraline carried the cup over to Miss Forcible. Miss Forcible looked carefully, shook her head and looked at it again. Oh dear, she said. You were right, April. She is in danger. See, Miriam, said Miss Spink triumphantly. My eyes are as good as they ever were. What am I in danger from? Said Coraline. Mrs. Spink and Forcible stared at her blankly. What did you say? Said Miss Spink. Tea leaves aren't reliable for that kind of thing. Not really. They're good for generalities, but not for specifics. What should I do then? Asked Coraline, who was slightly alarmed by this. Don't wear green in your dressing room, suggested Miss Spink. Or mention the Scottish play, added Miss Forcible. Coraline wondered why so few of the adults she had met made any sense. She sometimes wondered who they thought they were talking to. Be very, very careful, said Miss Spink. She got up from her armchair and went over to the fireplace. On the mantelpiece was a small jar, and Miss Spink took off the top of the jar and began to pull things out of it. There was a tiny china duck, a thimble, a strange little brass coin, 2 paper clips, and a stone with a hole in it. She passed Coraline the stone with the hole in it. What's it for? Asked Coraline. The hole went all the way through the middle of the stone. She held it up to the window and looked through it. It might help, said Miss Spink. They're good for bad things sometimes. Coraline put on her coat, said goodbye to Mrs. Spink and Forcible and to the dogs, and went outside. The mist hung like blindness around the house. She walked slowly to the steps up to her family's flat, and then stopped and looked around. In the mist, it was a ghost world. In danger, thought Coraline to herself. It sounded exciting. Didn't sound like a bad thing. Not really. Coraline went back up the steps, her fist closed tightly around her new stone. So then, what do you think of Coraline? What kind of person is he? What is she? What kind of impression do you get from her? Someone's told her she's in danger. She's thinking maybe that's a good thing and it sounds exciting. She gets herself out of the house. She's constantly looking for things to do. Have a chat to an adult in your house. Tell them the kind of person you think Coraline is and why you think that. And I will be back tomorrow for chapter 3. See you then.